Tonight, 3 fires at BPL sending communities into darkness for hours, with the latest happening just this morning. Executives are now in damage control, what they're doing to stop power outages off the top. Also, we've got new developments in the Frank Smith bribery and extortion trial. And later, a new facility that's giving school dropouts a second chance. We'll tell you all about it coming up. This is Eyewitness News.
Eyewitness News brought to you by Flow Evo, powered by BTC. Flow Evo is here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Candino Knowles. Thanks for joining us. Off the top tonight, the Clifton Pier Power Plant was met with another blaze this morning, the third in just a matter of days. Fire officials telling us that the 3 separate fires do not seem to be linked, and they've implemented a new strategy over the next 24 hours to ensure that they're able to get a handle on any other potential fires. Our Theo Seeley has been following this story for us. He was first on the scene at Clifton Pier this morning and has all the latest.
We've had several fires which took place over the last couple of days, not just in one particular area. And so we are investigating now to determine what would have been the cause of these 3 matters, why these incidents were taking place and the frequency of them.
Evans could not confirm if arson is suspected. In an effort to improve response time at the power plant, Fire Services has deployed a unit on the southwestern tip of the island.
We will allow them to be stationed at the BPL's power plant at intervals during the course of the day to ensure that there's no reignition, ensure if there are any issues that we may look at, we'll be able to address those matters in a very, very quick fashion.
Now, moments after this morning's blaze, the opposition Progressive Liberal Party was on the scene to express their concern about the peculiar string of fires here at the Clifton Pier Power Plant. So we questioned the leader of the opposition, Philip Davis, if they were so concerned about the issues currently plaguing BPL, why didn't they address those concerns when they were in power?
We met in place a dilapidated plant. We met in place a BEC that was teetering on bankruptcy. We met in place an ineffective plant, ineffective product. We went about immediately seeking to correct those challenges. No new challenges arose during 2012 and 2017.
He maintains government has not only dropped the ball in New Providence, but family islands like Harbour Island suffer power woes due to neglect as well.
We answered their problems, but because of the government's failure to continue with the maintenance program that's left in place, I'm now to understand that most of those engines are now being compromised to the point where there is an outcry in Harbour Island now where the residents are having challenges with electricity once again.
All right, well, electricity consumers are hoping their lights stay on. Some tell us that they're also praying for a reduction in the rising cost of electricity. Our Clint Watson spoke exclusively with the CEO of BPL. He joins me now live in studio. Good evening, Clint.
Well, good evening to you, Candino. The head of the power company had a lot saying about lowering the cost of electricity. It was interesting. He says all electricity consumers want is their powers to stay on. We understand that. And for the cost of it staying on to be significantly reduced, we agree with that. Well, according to BPL's CEO, Whitney Hasty, in order to do so, they have formed their own equation that will hopefully deliver on this.
What we're wanting to do is reduce the inefficiencies inside this company, so that when we go to ERCA and the government, that we have skimmed all the fat out of this organization.
And that's the first move to reducing the cost of electricity. CEO of BPL, Whitney Hasty, is of the view they must tackle the source of expenditure while preserving the technical resources at work for the company. Contrary to what's been a popular view, he believes Clifton Pier can actually work to their benefit.
Clifton Pier has more efficient engines than Blue Hills. Clifton Pier fuel is half the price of the fuel at Blue Hill. And so by getting more capacity out of Clifton Pier, not only am I burning less fuel, but I'm burning less costly fuel. And so what the mindset was in trying to move Clifton Pair capacity from the 20 to 30% to the 40, 50% was to affect the fuel charge that the customers were paying. Because we understand that that is the largest portion of the bill. And so as we look to now Shell North America and what the cabinet has passed there, we believe that too is transformational in helping to move the fuel component of the bill to what we would like it to be. Certainly half of what it is today.
Hasty says these opportunities can only be realized if they can find a way to deal with the debt. As to a time frame before consumers can experience a decline in the cost of electricity,
that's a difficult one because every time we think we're turning a corner, we have like the Clifton Pair situation that comes up and sort of take us off our course. But I would say certainly as we work towards bringing LNG to bear, I would say certainly in another 2-3 years we should definitely be there. But I firmly believe that if we can get off of diesel, which is running about $16 per million BTU, to heavy fuel oil, which is about $8 per million BTU. That's a 50% shift in price, right? We can immediately see a cost savings to the Bahamian people and what they're paying for power.
Hasty is a firm believer the Clifton Pair is critical to reducing cost.
I know a lot of folks don't have a lot of faith and hope in Clifton Pair because of the way Clifton Pair has been managed. I'm of a different view. I believe Clifton Pair can be a prime site that if we take it and do what it was intended to do, it can reap benefits for the Bahamian people. The Bahamian people already own those assets. And so why not we make those assets do what they were designed to do? They're doing it around the world. So it can't be the assets. It's got to be the way we're managing those assets. So our endeavor is to change the management of those assets, do the maintenance on them when we're supposed to do the maintenance on them, and make sure to let the Bahamian people reap the benefits of that. That's our goal.
There you have it. It's a different perspective that we've not heard, I don't know, ever about Clifton Pier. But interestingly, it comes down to, based on the position of the company, it doesn't appear that any immediate relief is in sight. Meantime, consumers say if they must pay a high price, at least give them the service to go along with the costs. Back to you, Candino.
All right. Thanks a lot. Our Clint Watson reporting for us live tonight. Thanks a lot, Clint. Well, Immigration Minister Brent Simonet is saying he's concerned about the high number of Bahamians requesting work permits for foreign labor. Jobs, he says, Bahamians can do and are qualified for. Francesca Brown explains his position.
Immigration Minister Brent Simonet said he is concerned about the large number of work permits being issued in the Family Islands, particularly North Eleuthera.
I am totally amazed by the number of work permit applications that come in from certain sections of the Bahamas, and North Eleuthera is one of those. There seemed to be an extraordinary amount of applications by persons who legally live in the Bahamas or are Bahamians wanting to hire non-nationals to work. And certainly I am looking at that. And I've certainly refused quite a number of work permits in some areas because I think there's an extraordinary amount of non-Bahamians.
Mr. Simonet said a study needs to be conducted to determine if all the applicants for work permits in the country are warranted.
The biggest work permit application is handyman, gardener, live-in maids, that type of level. And you've heard me say before, I think we need to have a discussion on work permits. I think what we need to do in conjunction with, say, with the University of Bahamas is look at how many households there are here. So if there's, let's say, 20,000 households in Nassau, we don't need 50,000 gardeners. And I think one day when we have another longer time, we should do a study as to who's getting work permits.
Now, his comments came as he announced that the Department of Immigration has become paperless beginning today. Simonet said all documents as it relates to work permits and permanent residency status will now be fully computerized. The minister said this will result in a faster process of work permits being issued. That computerization of the department is expected to cost $18 million. And despite dozens of people being granted permanent residency and citizenship, Simonet said the vast majority have not picked up their papers.
So it's interesting. I think I did a press conference in front of Cabinet Office with most of you where I gave my personal email address out. It's interesting, I probably have had 30 emails in response of that. So, if people are out there desperate to find out where their citizenship naturalization is, I'm not hearing from them.
Francesca Brown, Eyewitness News.
Well, after extensive consultation with stakeholders, the Ministry of Financial Services, Trade and Industry has now submitted all necessary negotiating inputs required for World Trade Organization accession. Now, this is according to the Minister of Financial Services, Brent Simonet. He says a delegation, including himself and the Financial Secretary, Marlon Johnson, as well as newly appointed lead negotiator for government, Jamargo Lang, will head to Geneva, Switzerland next week to discuss the Bahamas finally joining the organization. Lang said the team is still open to suggestions from the business community ahead of the trip.
To the extent that there may be sensitive strategic issues for businesses or groups of businesses, we need to know that, and we need to reflect that in our trade negotiating position. The Bahamas ought not and cannot join the WTO on terms that injures this economy, that injures significant business prospects in this economy. And so to know where that injury might take place, we have to be in close communication with the businesses. And so yes, if there are concerns or issues or suggestions that are out there, we invite them to come forward.
All right, well, the Minister administration is seemingly not letting up on its push for fiscal responsibility with the introduction of a 3-day public financial management seminar, which actually just got underway today at Melia Resort on Cable Beach. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Peter Turnquest telling Eyewitness News that the conference stems from a need to strengthen the newly introduced fiscal responsibility bill. But more than that, Turnquest says the forum, which brings together leaders from various government ministries and agencies, allows for the development and sharing of ideas that can ultimately lead to the establishment of best fiscal management practices.
To invite their participation and their ideas about how this bill ought to be laid out so that it works for them in a tangible way. And so hopefully at the end of this 3-day conference, we will have their recommendations as to how we ought to amend the draft bill that has already been put together, and hopefully we will have a bill then that we can take to the wider community for consultation and hopefully finalization, so that we can have this in place for hopefully for the next fiscal year.
The finance minister also telling us that government has invited regional help to ensure the best possible governing public, or best possible bill that is, governing public finances is engineered.
Draft a new bill that will take into account all of the modern standards of public financial management. And so today we begin the formal consultation with the Caribbean Action Task Force, the CARTAC, that will help us to design this bill to ensure that we are in compliance with global standard and that we have a piece of legislation that will serve us in good stead for the foreseeable future.
The defense accusing the prosecution of failing to disclose vital information once again in the Frank Smith extortion and bribery trial that's underway. Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands took the stand again today and made some startling confessions. Francesca Brown is following the case.
Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands admitted today that he deviated from standard procedure when he authorized the approval of a $1.8 million contract for the Magic Touch Cleaning Company, the principal of whom donated to his election campaign and is a complainant in the Frank Smith bribery and extortion trial. Hannah's son also worked on Sands' campaign. Sands also admitted that he did not take the contract to cabinet, despite it being controversial and despite contracts worth more than $1 million requiring cabinet approval. The health minister also admitted that since approving that contract, he has not approved any other contract involving the Public Hospitals Authority without board approval. Now, his comments were revealed during cross-examination by Frank Smith's lead counsel, Keith Knight QC. However, during re-examination by lead prosecutor for the Crown, Edward Jenkins QC, Sands said there was no mandatory law requiring him to seek cabinet approval for that contract. Dr. Sands approved the contract for Hannah less than 3 months after criminal charges were brought against former PHA chairman Frank Smith. Smith is accused of allegedly soliciting $5,000 a month from Mrs. Hannah. He has pleaded not guilty. Now, the defense has also accused the prosecution of failing to disclose financial information regarding Hannah's bank statements, as was ordered by the Supreme Court a year and a half ago. Damian Gomez, another attorney on the Smith's defense team, submitted that without those statements, the defense would be at a serious disadvantage. The documents were ordered to be produced when court resumes on November 13th. The case is being heard before Chief Magistrate Joanne Ferguson Pratt. Francesca Brown, Eyewitness News.
All right, new from Grand Bahama tonight, an educational facility that's expected to give adults a second chance at a high school diploma opens. We've got more from the ceremony coming up. And later, it's World Suicide Prevention Day. What the Sandilands Rehabilitation Center is doing to deepen awareness locally. We are just getting started in Eyewitness News. We've got more on this and other new developments tonight, but first, here's a check on tonight's weather forecast. You are looking at live pictures of University Drive, where the temperature is right around 84 degrees. We're expected to get down to about 78 tonight. This is Eyewitness News. Welcome back. An educational avenue created today for students failing to get a high school diploma. And while the program is being touted by dozens of participants, the MP behind the school said it's lacking support from government. Janine Noel Ferguson attended the opening today and has more.
Every member of parliament in Grand Bahama and senator, but all happened to be extremely busy on September 10th. But I want to thank them for giving me 1,000 more votes.
Pine Ridge MP Frederick McAlpine sounding off today, claiming that he's still being shunned by the Free National Movement after voting against the budget in May. Now, he hosted an event opening up a virtual smart school for his constituents, and he said where there should be unity, there is not.
I was fired in May, got to work in June, and my classrooms are ready.
So you're being shunned by the party then?
I don't know if I'm being shunned by the party, but I think at this time, the mere fact that I've invited the party, invited the leader, they're all busy, but I've done my part.
It was a day for a new start and second chances. McAlpine opened his state-of-the-art virtual learning center at the Kipling Building in Freeport, Grand Bahama today, joined by Centerville MP Reese Chipman and Golden Isles MP Vaughn Miller, also fired from their post. The center is one that McAlpine said should be an example for his other elected MPs to follow, but instead he said he continues to get the cold shoulder.
I've done everything I could to express and show an olive branch. If the party knows that I am connected with the people, the least they could do is to try to make sure fences are mended.
Nevertheless, McAlpine says he remains undeterred and will continue to fight for those individuals and, more importantly, his constituents, whom he says deserve a second chance.
I wouldn't say a bad child in school, but I wasn't really interested in it. And like after I had kids and, they come to you asking you to help them with their homework and they asking you, looking up to you. So I said, you know what, I want to better myself, not only for me, but for my kids.
As a single parent, I applied for many jobs. And the fact that I had the ability and knowledge to do the job didn't matter because I didn't have a diploma. This is the beginning of my accomplishment to pursue my goals I have been waiting to pursue for a very long time.
A historic day and a most momentous occasion, and I pray that the people of Grand Bahama and my other colleagues will see the benefit in uniting rather than dividing.
From Freeport, Grand Bahama, I'm Janae Noel Ferguson, Eyewitness News.
Today is being observed as World Suicide Prevention Day, and the Sandilands Rehabilitation Center held an early morning conference to touch on the warning signs you may see in a friend or loved one to prevent any unfortunate occurrence. Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands, who was also in attendance, says beyond the staggering numbers of suicides globally, the silence surrounding the issue is more frightening. April Sands has this.
Statistics prove 800,000 people die to suicide annually. Here at home, the numbers are staggering, although significantly smaller than our neighbors to the north. During an early morning conference, Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands says the epidemic in the Bahamas is still rising, and he says the concern is not the rate, but instead the silence surrounding it.
Let us make it a real part of how we communicate. Let us not be a part of the group that says, I didn't see this coming, or I thought he or she was acting strange, but I didn't want to pry. What is important is you must have the discussion.
Recently, while appearing on Beyond the Headlines, a physician at Sandilands Rehabilitation Center, Dr. Sean Knowles, revealed that in the majority, if not all, suicide cases, the key factors point to relationship or financial challenges.
Is there any information you can give them as where they can contact to get help or get more information on mental illness, suicide, any of these issues are related to it?
Okay, certainly. Well, you know, I mentioned Sandilands Rehabilitation Center. We also have the Community Counseling and Assessment Center on Collins Avenue, a great place. Persons who may not want to go to the public sector for help. We also have other institutions such as the Christian Counseling Center, again on Collins Avenue, the Bahamas Crisis Center. Certainly there are a lot of psychiatrists who operate privately who will be able to offer assistance. So there is help out there. So I beg Bahamians or a loved one who's watching.
This year alone, our news team was called to a number of suicides in the country, some even getting international attention, and some that remain mysterious and even questionable.
A friend discovered that her 18-year-old son had used his bed sheets to hang himself in his bedroom at their home. During the 2 years prior to committing suicide, my friend's son had been in treatment for psychoactive drug abuse that started when his parents divorced. He had been suffering from depression for about a year before his suicide.
The warning signs that a person may be in acute danger and may need help urgently include talking about wanting to die or kill oneself, looking for a way to kill oneself, talking about feeling hopeless or having no purpose.
If you or anyone else you know may be experiencing any of the above signs, call 328-0922. Reporting for Eyewitness News, I'm April Sands.
All right, coming up in tonight's BTC Connection, meet some of the country's best and brightest in business. That's coming up. And later on in sports, Randy Smith is off the top with the latest. Randy?
Filipino, despite losing the Belize over the weekend, Bahamas soccer head coach Young Gadet is keeping a positive outlook. We have the latest coming up in Eyewitness Sports. Good evening, everyone. I'm Randy Smith, and welcome to Eyewitness News Sports. In NPSA action, playoff action continued over the weekend at Bankers Field in the men's division. The CNS Hitmen advanced to the championship round after defeating Chance's Mighty Mitts 9-2, sweeping the series in 3 games. In women's action, the Lady Wildcats beat the Lady Warriors 12-2 and advanced to the women's finals. In football news, University of Charleston wide receiver Mike Strawn had 2 catches for 68 yards and 1 touchdown on Saturday in the Cougars' 42-21 win over Concord University. Also, Maven Sanders had 2 catches and a 2-point conversion in Kansas's 26-23 overtime loss. And in boxing, newly elected President Vincent Strawn said that now the tedious election process is behind him. He and his slate are all about moving forward with their plans to revamp boxing in the Bahamas, beginning at the youth level.
Hopefully next month, we are looking at hosting an elaborate amateur boxing show, which will include boxers from the U.S., like from the Floyd Mayweather's camp, possibly the Evander Holyfield's camp. And they're coming right here. And we're going to be right out there on our key.
Well, that does it for us in sports. But stay tuned. Eyewitness News returns after the break. I'm Randy Smith. Have a great evening.
You're watching Eyewitness News.
Telecom's giant BTC is highlighting some of the country's best and brightest business minds. You'll get to meet one of them in this edition of BTC Connection.
Every island and every key. Keep in touch with everybody. It's BTC every day.
I've had an amazing relationship with BTC as a small business. BTC gave me the opportunity to produce my first commercial in the Bahamas. BTC giving me my first opportunity to produce a commercial in the Bahamas. It led to so many other commercials, most notably Bahamian, Grammy Award winning group. Most recently, a commercial for Domino's, which is really making a great buzz around even a PSA for the Bahamas National Trust, the Congon video. And all of these things, all stem from doing work with BTC. It's amazing when big corporations like BTC give small businesses like me opportunities, because it gives us an opportunity to show that what we can do. And it really gives us the time to fly and showcase to the entire Bahamas that, we could do it. We could take on large projects. As a small business, my relationship with BTC has been amazing. And it was during the Olympics, the 2012 London Olympics, when our amazing Golden Knights, when they did their thing. So I had an opportunity to create a commercial sort of around them winning, the Olympics, and also featuring Ariana Vanderpool, which she did. So that opportunity was amazing, because from that opportunity it led to so many other opportunities in the Bahamas with commercials, music videos, and everything.
Every island and every key. Keep in touch with everybody. It's BTC every day.
All right, coming up and beyond the headlines with Clint Watson, the host talks with former BEC Chairman Leslie Miller on the mounting challenges at BPL in the wake of those 3 recent fires, load shedding, and the pressure to reduce the cost of electricity. That's coming up and beyond the headlines. It starts right after this. That does it for us on Eyewitness News. It's been a pleasure having you in our company tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Candino Knowles saying good night.